Last time we did the first number of worlds of Kingdom Hearts, and today we're going to keep that going with the finishing up of this first circle over here, and then we're probably also going to do Agrabah because Olympus is fairly short, especially since we're doing it last now. And we've already done part of the stuff to do with the second visit to Traverse Town as well, and Agrabah itself also isn't altogether too long. I don't know how long this stream is going to be. I've had a fucking long day of work, so I might not be up to a particularly long stream, but we should be able to go like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. And in that time we'll see a handful of new enemies. I don't think that many enemies will show up. Like the bandits in Agrabah will be new. Obviously any boss fight that we fight I will take my time with. And then we also... Is there any other enemies in Olympus that we're going to run into for the first time? I think, other than of course Cloud, which I classify as boss fight here, and Cerberus. I don't think Olympus itself has any unique enemies. It only recycles enemies from other places in the game. That's kind of the point of the Colosseum. So I don't think we'll be facing anything new there, so we'll blast through that very, very quickly. So not that much new stuff to really analyze here, but it's still good to just get a general feel for the gameplay, general game feel, you know. I've been playing my own game quite a lot lately, so it's good to now pick up another game that is very adjacent to it, like Kingdom Hearts. I also am downloading Dark Souls, not as we speak right now, because that would absolutely nuke my bandwidth, but I'm also downloading Dark Souls to do something similar with, because as much as I'm like action RPG, it's heavily inspired by Kingdom Hearts for like game feel. There's also some Dark Souls related stuff that needs to happen with that, specifically like the way the boss AI functions and feels. I really want to feel what that's like and analyze what that's like in Dark Souls, because I feel like that will give me better insight for the boss AI than Kingdom Hearts bosses will give me, because the Kingdom Hearts bosses really seem to rely on the idea that you will be coming to them instead of the other way around. So if you just run away from a Kingdom Hearts boss, for the most part, you're pretty much just gonna be good. And I feel like, but this is just a theory so far, right? I feel like in Dark Souls, the bosses are a bit more proactive into chasing you down as well and attacking you. So that's the idea at any rate. So I'm downloading Dark Souls, and maybe next week we'll play an hour of Dark Souls or so. Or maybe, actually I can't do it in this stream because I don't have it downloaded yet and it still needs to download like 15 gigabytes. And I'm not going to get there during this stream, because again, I am fairly confident that if I do that during this stream, I'm going to nuke my bandwidth, and I don't want that. So Kingdom Hearts it is. Next week maybe we'll do a bit of Dark Souls, a bit of Kingdom Hearts, maybe we'll just do Dark Souls, maybe we'll do dual streams, I don't know. I do have to like also actually develop the game and make YouTube videos about it and stuff like that. So I don't know how much just like research streaming I'll be able to do, but we'll figure it out, I'm sure. Sure, I'm ready to hit some barrels, why not? I want to reorder some things in my OBS overlay here. There we go, that's a bit better. So this bit is still relatively easy. Oh, this is going to be even easier because I do actually have a new Keyblade. Usually when you are in Olympus, which is usually the second world they want you to visit anyway. Usually when you're here, that's going to miss, yeah. You only have the Kingdom Key, but of course we've done Deep Jungle. And surprisingly, we didn't get absolutely destroyed by Clayton at our low level. Which also means we have Cure! Oh my god, we're actually... That means that I'm actually going to be able to beat Cloud, probably. Because usually the issue is that he just deals too much damage. But I'm higher level, I have got Cure, I've got a better Keyblade. It's nice to be able to sometimes beat Cloud. And now that I have Cure, it's also going to be a lot easier to analyze fights, to be honest. That was the entire reasoning behind doing Deep Jungle first, right? Last week. Is with Deep Jungle out of the way, we've got Cure. And that allows me to just like hang out a little bit more before dying. Okay, let's line this up. I can't believe that I missed that. I was gonna say, I can't believe that as a kid, this was always so hard. Honestly, this is probably not the case, but I feel like in the final mix version, or maybe even just the HD remix version, they extended that timer. Because as a kid, I distinctly remember failing that second task so many times. And when I made it was with like half a second left consistently. And now there's like 10 seconds left even when I fuck up. Doesn't seem like it's just a skill difference, right? It still could be. Still very much could be. Still didn't switch out my Keyblade. Okay, so those enemies technically are different because we can't skip that. Because we did only fight the fire version of the elemental floaty things. I forget what their names are. The blizzard ones, I'm going to assume that they're probably just the same. Except obviously they shoot blizzard out of the face instead of fire. But let's see. I also have that attack, right? I don't know if the fire ones have that, but that seems pretty much the same as the fire one. And then we have that attack as well, which I suppose is a fun attack. The thing is, some of these enemies having more like area of effect attacks, for lack of a better term, isn't really going to be too interesting for my game because I don't have like party members or anything like that. Here we can actually test, do these fire ones also have that spinny attack? Because they might not. Do they? It doesn't seem like they do. He would have done it by now, right? One of them would have. I think they literally only spit fire, which makes sense because you probably see the fire ones first, no matter what. Unless you do Olympus first, right? You can very much do Olympus first. It's not the way you're meant to do things. But then again, leaving things open-ended is kind of like the point is that you don't have to do things the game wants you to do them. At least not in the proper order of things, so... It's interesting, it seems like the ice elementals here are just a like upgraded version, more or less, of the fire ones. In that they have more moves, I should point out. Because obviously the fire elemental, that's probably why actually, because the fire elemental attack is a fire blast, which is homing. The blizzard attack is blizzard, which is, well, not homing, it's just a straight shot. So they probably gave it a second attack to make up for that difference. And I believe there's only 5 matches in these preliminaries, so... Thank you, Donald. That's exactly why I like going to Deep Jungle first. That said, it's interesting to see that this this enemy is mainly a ranged enemy, but when you do get close to it, it does have like a physical attack. I don't have my stream things set up yet for chat on... I probably should do that, especially since this is going up on YouTube afterwards as well. Oh, there's more than 5 matches. Okay, never mind. How's it going? Thank you very much for asking and joining in here. I am almost dead. So, in that regard, could be doing better. But generally, not too bad. How about you? At least I now know that my chat works inside OBS, because I wasn't entirely sure about that yet. Frankly, like, before 20 minutes ago, I wasn't even aware that OBS had a built-in Twitch chat. Which does really help me. I wonder if it also has a built-in function for YouTube chat. That would be even better. It doesn't seem like it does, but there's probably a plugin you can install. Can you please die? Just made a coffee. I'm assuming you're in a American time zone then, because if you're anywhere close to my time zone, there's very much not time for any sort of coffee, because it's, let's see, it's 6:20 p.m. Unless you have a fucked sleep schedule, in which case that still works out. Australia, 4 a.m. Is that a being up very late kind of deal? Or is that a being up very early kind of deal? Because 4 a.m. is just on the edge there, where it could realistically speaking be either. Okay, hold on. I do need to pay attention a little bit to what Cloud is doing here. I just killed Donald and Goofy. I don't care. I just want to observe what your behavior is. Come on, go ahead and kill Donald. Thank you very much. Okay, so now what do? You jump over to me. You just very slowly walk towards me. It's woke up in the middle of the day, so it's being up very late. I mean, if you woke up very late as well. So it's more of the sleep schedule being fucked. Is what I'm hearing. Okay, so he just walks very slowly toward me. And at a certain point, like one of his timers runs out or whatever, and he does an attack in my general direction. Which can either be that dashing move or that jumping move. And that seems to be the general rule here with most Kingdom Hearts bosses. Is that they do that. They just kind of hang out at a distance, move very slowly towards you. When you get close to them in that phase, they will do an attack. Right? This one actually backs up as well. Interesting. Sleep schedule will change all the time. Well, that's... I mean, if you can live like that, that's fucking grand. I hate having to change my sleep schedule personally, but that's a me thing. I really do like. I do have every opportunity to like wake up and go to bed whenever I want, but I'm pretty consistent with it because whenever I deviate too much from it, like I can take an hour or two on either side of that, like go to sleep about 2 hours later than usual, wake up about an hour earlier than usual, and I'll be fine. If I go too far out, I need like a week to fix myself back up, which is just not a lot of fun. It's like it means that I'll be tired for a week, and I'm always tired because I'm insane and I can never like take any rest or anything resembling rest. But it means that I'll always also be significantly less productive for that week. That's not great. Anyway, we kind of just came to the same conclusion with the Cloud fight as I did with the Leon fight, which makes sense because they probably have very similar AI, being like humanoid enemies. So now the interesting bit would be, and let's put on some of this stuff as well. Some HP and some strength would be good, and then I don't really need AP at the moment. Strength and defense, just defense. You know what? I think a bit more defense for what I'm doing here would be a good thing. Oh, hello, more Australian people. Welcome. Because I'm trying to survive more hits than I usually would, right? In a normal playthrough, because I'm just gonna be walking about and waiting for attacks, and inevitably that's going to lead to me getting hit more. So my thinking is just go all in on HP and defense mostly. Okay, so Cerberus having a ranged attack. It seems like what he does, he has like a state in which he does that range attack, then he has a state in which he does this attack, and then he probably at some point just has a state where he just runs around and does nothing, I imagine. Although you can attack him in between bites in this state as well, as I will try to show off unsuccessfully. Oh, and then he can do that. Well, he's got quite a few attacks actually, Cerberus. So now he just hangs out for a bit. It's pretty short time, admittedly. And then he starts doing his bite attacks again. In a different pattern, I note, I think. This feels like it's a different pattern. This is one bite, all three bites. I don't think that was the same pattern as before. Then we have this attack as well, which I think he just initiates this and then goes into his fireball spitting thing. So I'm assuming that this is just like the same state as the start of the fight, but at the start of the fight he doesn't do those darkness pillar things. Because those two things always go together, right? He always, when he does this, also does the fireballs? No, he does not. Okay, so those are separate things. He can initiate that attack and then either go into walking around, fireball attack. Presumably he could even go into this state right afterwards, I'm guessing. We'll have to look at that. Actually, we shouldn't kill him yet. I mean, if your office is cold, you need to... I was gonna say put on the heat, but the idea of having an office blanket is... honestly just kind of funny. And not a bad idea. It's better than putting on just like... your radiator. So, yeah. He... seems to really like doing this attack just after the darkness pillar attack. But I'm lucky and he does it again. Okay, so do you go into your... no, he... yes, he does. Okay. So after that darkness pillar attack that he does, he can just go into literally any other state. He can just walk around. He can do this. He can... do the fireballs, and I think that's all the states that he can be in. So, well, that's interesting. Well, if your office doesn't have heating, there's still always the office blankets ID, which I must say I do love that ID. You have a mini radiator that I could go grab. I like the office blanket ID. Do the blanket. It's better for the environment anyway to use a blanket. I did get an ability though. Do I care about that? Strike back after parrying an enemy blow. Successful counterattack restores MP. Or do I want slap shot? Rapidly strike enemies ahead of you occasionally. I'm probably not going to do counterattacking too much. Slap shot is a lot more useful. Having blankets annoys you. Oddly specific thing to be annoyed about, but that, sure. In that case, don't have an office blanket. I'll get myself an office blanket though. Specifically because my office is my bedroom. So I already have an office blanket. It's just my blanket. I don't use it while working, usually. Sometimes I do, if it's like real cold outside and it's taking like the radiator, it takes a hot minute to heat up this room, right? It's insulated like garbage. So it takes a good little while before the heating actually like warms up this room to a reasonable degree. Sometimes I'll just like take the blanket and keep myself warm that way. Until the heating starts up, because it's not particularly productive being under a blanket for me. Restricts arms a lot, which makes it hard to move your mouse around and to like typing and stuff like that. It's not particularly great for that. But I'm nitpicking. But it does restrict your movement. You need one of those blankets with like the armholes in it. It's a very stupid product, because at that point just put on a sweater. Right? But I do like the idea that somebody had this exact problem and didn't think about just literally a sweater. Or a jumper, if you're British. I don't know what the Australians call it. Sweater? Jumper? I don't know. Instead of just putting on one of those, just going out and inventing a whole product, that being a blanket with armholes in it, you call it a jumper. I kind of figured, right? Because you guys, I don't want to say you guys come from Britain, because that might be not entirely an accurate way to describe what happened there. But you don't really have anything to do with America, and sweater is very much a thing that evolved post-British Empire in America. So it makes sense that you call it a jumper. What doesn't make sense is the name jumper. Because unless you have a very good explanation for me right now, I would be very interested to hear. But why are jumpers or sweaters called jumpers? Because if there's one thing I don't want to do while wearing one of these things, it's jumping around. Like, it's literally the last thing I want to do. There we go. So if anybody's got any ideas as to why it's called a jumper, or anybody wants to Google, because I'm too lazy to do it and I'm playing a game, which is way more important, obviously. Please do tell me. It comes from the dialect jump or job, which means man's short coat or woman's underbody or tunic. Okay. That's a lot less interesting than I thought it was going to be. I like my interpretation of it's something you wear while working out, because it definitely is the opposite of that. I like that a lot better. Just like for humor's sake, at least. Anyway, let's go get that summon, right? And then never actually use it. Because oh, wait a second, these are new. These are new. But they just cast Thunder, right? Yeah, they literally just cast Thunder, which... it's not really all that new. This is not how we make our way to Merlin's house. Don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I did get Red Trinity already, didn't I? I must have, because you need to go in there, usually, to even trigger. Currently close off, I know, but if these Heartless could just die, I'm pretty sure. Because usually you talk to Leon, and then he sends you to Sid, and in order to talk to Leon, you need Red Trinity. So, I'm sure I got it somewhere along the line. I don't know. let's take a look. What's wrong with my profile picture in here? I don't know. Let's look. What is my Twitch profile picture even? It just doesn't work? The fuck? Shut the fuck up, Twitch. Shut the fuck up. I'm not even logged in. Okay, good to know. I'll do it after the stream, not right now, because apparently I need to re-log in because... Oh, I reset my password. Because I wanted to log in from OBS. I reset my password. And that, obviously, when you reset your password, security thing, right? It logs you out of everything, everywhere. I say it's a security thing, but if you got hacked and they change your password and it logs you out, you're in for more trouble. So I don't know if it's actually very good security. Wait a second, I do have the Earth Shrine. I don't know why I'm not getting the summon. Oh, that's why. So yeah, I'll update the profile picture after the stream, because I was frankly just not aware of the fact that my profile picture didn't work, it didn't load in. Which is dumb, because for sure when I try to go to my Twitch dashboard, the top right corner, do we need to do this? I don't think we even need to do that, to be honest. It does show a, like, image filter load icon. I just kind of assumed that that was Twitch being Twitch. But apparently sometime since the last time I used Twitch, which is years ago, my profile picture, wherever it was hosted, on whatever website, whatever domain, and we're gonna get a Riku cutscene here, whatever domain hosted that picture, is apparently either just removed it or it's gone down. Which you would assume it's just hosted on the Twitch servers, actually. Well, I don't really care. Let's go to the Gizmo shop to get ourselves a boss fight. And try to ignore as many of these guys as possible, because they're just annoying little shits. Can I make this the quick way? Is the question. And the answer is gonna be... maybe yes? No. I'm pretty sure that's possible. Maybe that's something I just imagined to be possible. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's possible. Also, I think my volume is a little too high. Is my volume a little too high on my voice? Am I clipping? It looked like I was clipping there for a moment. Oh, these guys are new. Hold on. Guys, don't kill the Heartless. I need to know what they do. So, these guys just fly around and they have a dash in and attack you move. I don't, to be fair, I don't have any enemies that fly and attack you with like a melee attack. That is an interesting combination. Probably should do that at some point. I mean, the code for my flying enemies is absolutely atrocious at the moment, so it probably wouldn't work all that well. But I need to... it gives me a good reason to improve the movement code for my flying enemies. Because for some reason, Unreal doesn't really have very good support for flying characters. Like, it has a whole movement mode in its character movement component for flying, which is fine. But then there's nothing that actually makes use of that. The only thing that that does is it disables the gravity, which is a good start. But if you're trying to like navigate with an enemy or anything, there's no navigation in 3D. You need to write that yourself, and The way I'm doing it right now is very not great. But it works. Because what it does right now is not pathfinding. It's literally picking a random point and seeing, hey, can I move there in a straight line? If so, I'm gonna move there. It's not as much pathfinding as it is path checking, I suppose. But I looked into it, and turns out pathfinding algorithms actually like pretty complex. Who would have thought, right? Also, I don't know why I bothered fighting those enemies. That's not what I'm doing here today. These enemies, however, I do have to fight, sadly. I also noticed that there's a distinct issue going on. Oh, no. There's a distinct issue going on with a lot of these fights, and that is that I'm actually missing quite a lot of like my second and don't jump off. Quite a lot of my second and third attacks I just miss. And not because the enemies move out of the way, but because I knock them back outside of my own range. And that's something that I specifically in my game also ran into. I can't knock things too far back until the end of a combo. Because at that point, the entire idea of a combo doesn't work anymore, right? If you hit something once, and then you can't hit them again because you knocked them far back, too far back, with that one attack, then by the time you get to them, your combo counter will have reset, because that's on like a... In my case, I think it's a quarter second. If you don't attack again for a quarter second, the combo counter resets. And that is a decent solution, just increasing that amount of time, but that doesn't necessarily make your game feel particularly smooth. Like, you want to have a combo that feels like you're, well, comboing from one move into the next. Also, I think there's a chest around here somewhere. There's something around here. There we go. There's a postcard around here. That's what I remember. We'll post that postcard in a moment. There's nothing else up here. I'm going to be real with you. Oh, there's a chest up here. That's what I remember as well. With a mithril shard, I literally don't care. I didn't know you could get up here in Kingdom Hearts 1 for the longest time. In Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance for the 3DS, where you have much more overpowered movement available to you. You can very easily get up there, and at the time, like 2013 or something, when I played that game, I was very impressed, like, oh, you can actually get up here now, that's very interesting, and it wasn't for... I don't think until I played the HD remakes that I realized, no, you can get up there in Kingdom Hearts 1, and you're actually kind of supposed to, because there is an item and a postcard up there. Okay, so this guy seems to be much more in the business of attacking towards the player. Yep, he definitely does. So, what does he do? He's got that lunging attack. He's got that... He's probably got way too many attacks for me to count at the moment. But he's got that, like, windmill of death attack. There we have it, the lunging attack, but that seems like a light version because that is the proper version. And I think as long as he has all his limbs, those might be the only attacks he can do. But he can probably also detach his hands and have a separate move when he has his legs on his body. There's a lot of configurations of different body parts that go together here, potentially. So right now his... no, it's the same as the last time actually. So his head is with his feet. Or arms, rather. And his legs, or arms, or whatever you want to call it, the things with claws are with his body. And it's the same thing he did the first time when he separated. So I'm going to assume that's just what he always does. Here comes the tricky bit for actually like analyzing this fight, is I very clearly have to take out his hands or legs, at which point I'm assuming what ends up happening is he gets a different moveset depending on which limbs he has left. So I can't test both. He also has that attack. I entirely forgot about that attack. Why do you do it so many times in a row though? I don't appreciate that. Please stop doing this. It's really hard to dodge. Okay. His hands have a lot of HP. Oh, wait a second. I think I got rid of his hands or feet, or I always get mixed up with opposite arm. And now he just does that attack. I think that attack only, seemingly from what I've just seen, unlocks after you've defeated at least one of his limbs. Or maybe just a threshold for his total amount of HP that he has. That also works well enough. Do you have any specific other new attacks in this phase? That's still the small lunging attack and the big lunging attack. And you can't very well detach, yeah, so you can't detach your arms or your legs or whatever, damn it, anymore. So it seems like he actually has less moves. Which from a difficulty progression standpoint doesn't make a lot of sense, because at this point we're like a third the way through the boss fight. You would expect, fuck you Donald, healing me just as I'm healing myself. You would expect from a difficulty progression standpoint that he would gain difficulty and not lose part of his moveset. Then again, that big ball of light cannon attack does seem to unlock around that same time as well for him, so that might be part of the reason why there's no new attacks. Surely though, there has to be a new attack that's added now, or does he just do this a lot more? He might just do this a lot more. Can you please stop shooting your balls? Does he just infinitely do this when he's only a body because this is the only way he can attack? I think this is just what he infinitely does because this is the only way he can attack. And by the time you get to this point in the fight, he's probably only a combo away from death anyway. So the most like average players wouldn't notice the fact that he just infinitely does this. Yeah, I'm going to assume that that is the case and just finish him off. Oh my god, rumblers on the controller. That scared the living crap out of me. Have we really already been live for 40 minutes? It doesn't feel that long. I suppose that's a good thing though. Now that there's no enemies around here, can I easily get to this without high jump? I can. And that's another postcard, which reminds me, otherwise I would have entirely forgotten. Let's post those postcards, see if we get any useful items out of them. I don't think so. I think the only useful item you get out of here is a item for synthesis for the Ultima weapon, if you post all 10 of them. So, how much money do we have? Not that much, but maybe... maybe we can get some weapons for Donald and Goofy. Like the Morning Star, and then small shield made for attack rather than defense, or a large shield that protects against various attacks. Yeah, we definitely... Actually, maybe I don't even want to give them more more powerful weapons, because that means that they're gonna get in my way more. We'll give you the weapons for now, and I can always just switch them back again, if need be. Using magic to make light robes in Unity. Magic light robes. This is gonna take a while. Light robes shouldn't be that big a deal, right? Where the fuck even is Sid? Oh, he's in the 3rd district, that's right. Magic Light Probes is a plugin that places them for you. Calculates based on lighting and stuff. I mean, that's kind of cool, I suppose. But it's also not that big a deal to place them by hand. If you have, like, not an insanely complex scene. Well, the scene complexity is not the most important bit, right? It's the light complexity of your scene specifically. I mean, but I guess just having a plugin, if it's a well-made plugin, which I'm going to assume that it is, it's probably just going to place them more efficiently anyway, than you would do yourself. So that's fair enough. I don't care about any of this shit. Can we skip this cutscene? No, we cannot. Well, here we are. Mashing our way through text bubble cutscenes. This is gonna be great when we get to literally any game that's not Kingdom Hearts 1. Actually, it's a lot of mashing through cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and Kingdom Hearts Days, and Kingdom Hearts Recoded. But every other game we can skip every other cutscene, because this whole text bubble cutscene shenanigans kind of just phased out as the series goes on, luckily, because it's extra effort while playing the game to have to read instead of listen. What am I doing? I'm playing a game, I'm not reading a book. But it's also annoying when you're playing through the game and you just want to get on with it and you can't skip those cutscenes. Maybe in Chain of Memories you actually can? Maybe in 358 you can. I don't know. I guess we'll see at some point. When we eventually get to all that, I do have Blizzard, so I can actually turn off these candles. Which allows me to open up this chest. Which also took me way too long to figure out when I was a kid. Like, I knew that you could turn off the candles here and that would probably allow you to open up that chest, but I didn't know that you had to use Blizzard to do it. Because if you just do it like I tried to do there, it's never going to keep all 4 of them extinguished, wow, at the same time. Just got a defense up though, which we're going to use on Sora. Not on the Goofy, because they need to die as soon as possible in any given fight. And now we get some portals and we can go to Agrabah. But first, let's go to the Gummy Garage. I don't need the tutorial. I really don't need the tutorial. Let's add some... I want to add some speed. I only have this one. Okay, I only have this one. Sure. That works for me. Can we... That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, maybe I did need the tutorial, because it's been a while. Okay, there we go. How do I go up and down? Again? Okay, maybe I did need it. I definitely needed the tutorial. Oh, that's how you do. Okay. Can't attach any more engines to the gummy. You need to upgrade the computer first. Fuck. Okay. Do I have any more? I don't really care about the armor. More health would be good, I suppose. Decorative stuff we don't care about at all. Maneuverability I don't care about. Okay, so I've got nothing that I actually care about. Like I can put some of this shit on here, I suppose. Do we need to do this? No. But I like to, so I go. I go into the gummy ship garage every so often and I just add some random blocks. Is that this is not the best way to build a gummy ship. I want to point that out. I just brute force my way through this. In Kingdom Hearts 3 I actually built a halfway decent ship because the... It's not what I wanted to do. Well, let's just put that one there and put another one of those there. That'll do. So in Kingdom Hearts 3 I actually made a halfway decent gummy ship at some point because the secret boss fights for the gummy ships that you need to beat for Ultimate Weapon is a pain. It straight up is just a pain to deal with. But for now, this should now result in me taking less damage, right? It feels like it does. At some point we're gonna get like massive fucking cannons and stuff, and the gummy ship becomes a lot more fun when you have all that. The gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts 1 still is horrible. Don't get me wrong, it's never gonna be actually good. But it gets better. It's just sad that the best that it gets in Kingdom Hearts 1 is worse than the starting point of Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 gummy ships, which still aren't great. But that just goes to show you how fucking shitty this gummy ship implementation is. I don't know what they were thinking here. Like, to a certain extent, I can appreciate the change of pace in gameplay, like just doing something else for a little bit. I can appreciate that. But this really, really sucks. Like, this is really just not good. Like, literally every other game does this in a better way. Even the games that don't do it very well. Like, you have Dream Drop Distance, for instance, has the gummy ships replaced with dropping mechanics. We're just free falling through space, pretty much. And while you do that, you fight Heartless in space while falling. It's very basic. It's literally just that. But it is a lot more fun than this, I'll tell you that much. It's a lot more satisfying to kill those enemies than... Like, what the... Oh, okay. Please let this be the end of this route. Because I don't want to be shitting on the gummy ship and then die to it. That wouldn't be ideal. Or give me HP. HP also works. But just don't let me die here. That would be embarrassing. I should platinum this game at some point. I really should. Just because that would also mean that I have to do all of the stupid gummy ship missions. And that would be funny. But I'm not going to do that right now. Right now what I'm doing is I'm playing through the entire series one game at a time. And again, we're going to also throw in some Dark Souls with that at some point. Because I also need to observe the AI of the Dark Souls enemies. Okay, we've got new enemies. How do they do? They just have an attack where they fucking go apeshit and do a Sonic. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's take a little bit of a look at like how big a window their animations have. And actually what I need to do is this is one of the main things that I keep running into in my own game, is that it's somewhat easy to like just stun lock and juggle enemies. And I need to figure out, that is a thing that Dark Souls isn't going to help me with, because the way Dark Souls deals with that is just enemies don't give a fuck about getting hit by you sometimes, and then they hit you and you're dead. That's not a particularly fun way of dealing with that. But surely Kingdom Hearts has a halfway clever way of dealing with that issue. So let's try to take a look at that during this world. How do enemies deal with you infinitely comboing them? Is it literally just other enemies coming to ruin your day? Because so far it kind of seems like it, not gonna lie. Yeah, I can just combo chain these enemies and... Goofy, if you could fuck off, I'm trying to do research here. So what I'm learning here so far is that the way of preventing Sora, or just a player character, from like stun locking and combo juggling enemies is just to throw more enemies at them. Which is kind of what I didn't want to do, because that felt like brute forcing the issue and not actually coming up with a solution. But you know, Kingdom Hearts does it. I feel like I'm justified in just going that route as well. Goofy is... I can't wait until Goofy dies. Because that does happen in Kingdom Hearts 2. Goofy just straight up fucking dies. Spoiler, I guess. Also, Donald dies in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's quite insane, isn't it? To be fair, in Kingdom Hearts 3, everybody dies. So, you don't get to die until I tell you to. Listen, isn't this where we're supposed to be going after freeing Carpet? Apparently not. Who knows, maybe you get to die in Kingdom Hearts 4. That would be fun. Knowing the release schedule of these games, that's going to be sometime around 2035. So it's only like 12 more years. We do have a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4 though, but then again, we had a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 in, I think, 2015. And this, well, not this game, but Kingdom Hearts 3 released in 2019. It's like there was a bit of time between the initial trailer and the game actually releasing, but that's also like partly because the team was working on like 3 games at once, and for Kingdom Hearts specifically switched engine halfway through, like we discussed last time, I believe. So, I don't expect this one to take like 7 years between the first trailer and the release, but it's probably gonna be a little while still, because the mobile game that they were working on also was supposed to be released early 2023. At this point, it's mid-November, and we just got a new trailer without a release date. Just fucking insane. The game was supposed to come out in April. It's November and we still don't even have a release date. I'm not even going to go after that. That's one experience. Who cares? Yeah, another 12 years of life. I'm sorry. But hey, if you just annoy the ever-living shit out of Square Enix so that they make Kingdom Hearts 4 faster, maybe you'll be able to die sooner and I'll be able to have that game sooner. Everybody's happy, right? You can die, they can have money, I can have Kingdom Hearts 4. I don't have a PS5 to play it on. So actually don't do that until I have a PS5. Because I kind of like... what I don't want... And this is 100% going to happen. I don't want to have to wait for a PC release. Because that's going to be like a year after the initial release. And I'm not waiting that long to play Kingdom Hearts 4. Because if I have to wait a year and avoid spoilers for an entire year, that's just not going to happen, right? And I want to experience... There's a few things that I really care about spoilers for. Kingdom Hearts is one of them. And specific Marvel films sometimes I care about. So it does seem like somehow the problem of juggling enemies is solved by just having other enemies attack you. Now, the big question. How intelligent are these enemies? Like, do they have a perception cone? Or do they just go after the player? I mean, the thing with Five Nights at Freddy's is, to a certain extent, of course, like new content is new content is new content is new content. But isn't like 90% of the spoilers just MatPat going insane? So they can't really be spoiled until MatPat makes a video and actually like makes a story of the game? Because I'll be honest, it's been a few years since I've given a shit about Five Nights at Freddy's and game theory about them. But at least at the time, that was kind of the vibe that we were going with, is the games make no goddamn sense and MatPat just writes the story afterwards. Oh, the FNAF movie. Well, I'm guessing that one has a bit more story going for it since it's a movie. Yeah, no, that makes sense. All that I know is that it was real hard to, I guess, spoiler. I'm not going to spoil too much because I haven't seen the movie. I literally know one thing about it. The only thing that I know is that like the day after it was released, the first thing I saw on my TikTok feed, a TikTok feed that is like very not related in any way, shape or form to Five Nights at Freddy's. But the first thing I saw is that people were going apeshit because apparently MatPat is in it for like a second. And my TikTok feed doesn't care about either game theory or Five Nights at Freddy's. So I feel like if I got that spoiler, literally everyone must have seen that spoiler. Which it's not really a spoiler, right? It's a cameo, which was lied about a lot. It was the best box office weekend Blumhouse ever had. I can't believe that. I mean, it's Five Nights at Freddy's. Of course it is. I do wonder how many parents took their kids to see that movie and only upon seeing that movie realized what their kids had been playing for the past like 5 years. Because there must have been a lot of parents who were like, wait a second. Did I just take my 9-year-old to a horror movie in the cinema? What the fuck is this? I thought this was based on a children's game. And yes, it is. That must have been a... if not a common occurrence, at least not an uncommon occurrence. Right? Yeah, I've seen the scene. Because when I saw MatPat is in it, I was like, I need to look up this scene. It's the only thing that I care about from this movie, but I feel like I need to see this scene at least. And It's a really awkward scene. I'm not gonna lie. Like I like MatPat's content for the most part. I mean, I make fun of the FNAF theories because he writes the story for FNAF at this point, just retrospectively. I really like the guy for his content, but for somebody who like got into the YouTube game and as like an entertainer and somebody who was like in theater, which like indirectly led to like the whole YouTube start, the acting is not that good. I'm afraid I have to say the acting is not that good. And to be fair, acting in a theater and acting in a movie are very different things. I've worked with quite a lot of actors. Well, quite a lot is maybe an exaggeration, but a good handful of actors I have worked with, and most of them were like theater actors. And I worked with them in a film setting, and it is very, very different. And can't really blame MatPat for not being a film actor, right? I feel like with a little more direction you could have gotten there, though. But that scene probably wasn't directed to focus much on his performance, so I understand how that came to be. I understand why it's not really on point, and it's not really an issue, but it really did stick out to me that, oh my god, this performance is actually like not that good. Yeah, I understood that Markiplier also was supposed to be in it, but maybe will be in the sequel instead if he's not busy again. It's kind of fun though that they invited those YouTube personalities to because there's multiple YouTubers from what I understand. I just didn't know any of the other ones. Fuck. It's kind of fun that the people who helped FNAF become such a hit in the first place through YouTube, that they get invited to take part in this, what is a major accomplishment for the franchise and for the creator, having a movie made of this, right? Because I don't know what the game development team for Five Nights looks like at this point, but from what I understand, it has been just one dude for a while, and for the most part probably still is mostly just like one dude or a small team. Movie making is like, there's a lot of people involved, like very big teams, very big productions. That's the thing about film, is making games you can very much do on your own. It's a fucking pain, but you can. You cannot make a movie on your own. You literally cannot. The only thing you can do is like make an animation film on your own without any like voiced characters. That's pretty much what you can accomplish on your own making a film. I mean, you could also like make a very experimental film where every character is played by you and the camera is always stationary, I suppose, or done through robotics or whatever. But at that point, you're making more of an art piece than a movie. you simply just, on not humongous scales, like AAA studios, of course those teams are fucking huge as well, but on a small to medium scale, movie productions are just so much bigger than game productions. So that, as a game developer, getting into like a movie production, that must be a huge accomplishment. Did he leave? Wasn't aware of that, because from what I understand from the game theory video on it at least, he was there on set and involved with the movie. No, he wrote... So he still is involved. is what we're getting here. I mean, I'm sure that with the amount of success there's been, you definitely like would hire people to do some work, but I don't know. From what I understand, I didn't hear anything about this anyway, and I imagine, knowing how the internet is, I imagine what is more likely to happen here is the fact that he's not doing it anymore on his own and he's hired people to help him out. The internet would be very likely to run with that and say that he isn't developing the game anymore, while what's really happening is he now just has a team. Of course, that is pure speculation because I don't know what the fuck is going on. I haven't kept up with this shit at all for like a while. But knowing how the internet works and people on the internet are, that seems like a not unreasonable conclusion to jump to. He still owns the IP. I mean, there's a few steps between owning the IP and just like letting other people make the game while you just like sit back and cash. And having a team, right? There's a few more steps between those. And the thing is, if he is just like the rights holder and he pays other people to make the games entirely, that is, well, to say the very least, that would be very interesting. You might know, by the way, that I'm not analyzing this boss fight, and that is partly because of the discussion we're having, but also because this boss fight is a piece of shit, and I'm not really, like, inclined to die and have to do all this again. So, we'll get back to analyzing things when we get to Jafar. For now, this heartless motherfucker can just go die in a hole. Yeah, okay, but like not doing any programming on it is something very, very different from not being involved in the game. Like, that is not the same thing. Like the fact that you didn't program it, that's fine. But I really don't like the idea that just for like half of the duration of this world, this guy's just hanging out in Aladdin's house and selling stuff, which is real weird. But I would imagine that he like, if he takes up more of a like a writing role or a creative director role or whatever, that would make total sense to me. Oh no, we also have to do the Cave of Wonders. This fight is also annoying. There's not much AI to analyze here, mostly because the boss fight is static, which is really annoying. I used to be pretty decent at this fight from like a speed perspective. But I feel like they also changed something about the collision between the original and the HD version. Because it's not as easy to cheese your way up his side anymore, I feel. Used to be quite easy to... Oh no, you can still do that fairly easily. Never mind. He's retired, he doesn't do that much anymore. Okay. Again, as I said, I really haven't kept up too much with the entire franchise for years, so I have no idea what's going on. All I know is that the fan base of Five Nights at Freddy's is like between 5 and 12 years old for like 80%. So anything to do with that, I am inclined to like take not that at face value, unless it's from a primary source. Not saying that you're between 5 and 12 years old, by the way, but it's very easy to get like information mixed up when the main demographic... I mean, definitely initially wasn't the idea to have a main demographic that was that young, probably. But that's the demographic that it has now. And it's very easy to get information like corrupted over the internet when there's just that many idiot kids involved. And can you please just, all of you, fuck off and die? Okay, bandits are dead. Now this lion head. Please, for the love of God, please, just let me climb on top of you. There we go. God damn it. Again, I used to be pretty fast about this fight, but something's happened in my brain that doesn't allow for that speed anymore. Also, I still feel like the collision is fucked. Or, well, less fucked than it maybe was in the original version. But again, I feel like when I played this game a little bit more regularly, I think it was the HD version at that point already. Maybe not. Well, no, actually, now I remember. Because I did a lot of randomizers of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And at the time when I did that, it was mostly done through PS2 emulation. So the version I'm most familiar with still would be the PS2 version. So it's entirely possible that some of the collision isn't exactly the same. I would even say that it's likely that some of that has changed. Or maybe it's not even a collision thing, maybe it's a frame rate thing, right? Because we had that other thing in Deep Jungle where if you have your frame rate set to 30, you can clip up the stairs. If it is set to 60 or unlimited, you can't. Because the collision checks are done on a per frame basis, which still doesn't seem great. Seems like physics calculations should probably be done on its own loop. I'm not entirely sure how Unreal deals with that, to be honest. I think physics calculations are independent from frame rates. I know for Unity they are. That's what fixed update is in Unity. Ah, fuck! It doesn't matter that much. I guess we can just explore through down here. It's a lot safer that way. And this does a thing. It opens up a thing. Fantastic. You know what? Let's heal. This is the most goofy looking animation ever, by the way. They literally swim up a 2-foot waterfall. I think we need a boo at some point here. Or maybe that's just for optional stuff. I think that's just for optional stuff, actually. Because what we need to do is... I don't even think we can get over there with that high jump. We can't. Okay. Sure. Was a waste of time. So what we need to do here is we need to explode that. Oh, wrong way. Wrong way around. Let's take a sip of water. I've been talking a lot. This is actually an easier way to do things than going through the route up top. Like this route over here is actually more dangerous than just falling down to begin with. I'm not entirely sure how speedruns deal with that, because speedruns probably don't actually jump down because it adds another loading screen in the mix, as well as having to swim, which presumably swimming is slower than just running and jumping. So I'm assuming that speedruns just do it the difficult way. I don't think any of this shit really matters all that much. Also, this is definitely not the way you're supposed to be getting up here. This is just a very badly designed room. You're supposed to use a triangle command on one of those things when you have Aladdin in your party so Abu can do a thing. But you 100% don't need to do that. Well, maybe for that one you do need to do that actually. I think you can just make this, or maybe you can only make this when you have high jump. I think that might be the case. Yeah, no, that's probably the case. So we can get some free money here, I think. Quite a lot of free money, actually. It's not that much. Let's go fight Jafar, the most bullshit RNG. You'll see why in a moment. This fight is actually the worst. Because what he does is he just moves his ass over to a position where you literally cannot hit him. Unless you manage to stick him in this one position and like juggle him. But I don't know how to do that. So yeah, he just moves to a random location along like a circle. And sometimes that means he's just floating in the middle of nowhere and you can't hit him. I actually died. Huh. How about that? Oh, and that resets this room because the rooms don't save until you exit them. And then... But I did exit this room. Oh, but it doesn't... Yeah, no, okay, that all makes sense. This game works in weird ways, man. I suppose there's nothing much to do other than just keep on going. Welcome back, also. I hate this fight, man. I really do. But... as you can see from this boss fight, for some reason Jafar just doesn't like have a knockback state. He does at the beginning, but after like one or two combos he just stops having a knockback state. Which is odd. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Now he's just floating just outside of the reach of one of these platforms, which is not that bad, but he can also... He's probably going to do it now. Oh no, he actually does. That's... He's being very easy today. Which I don't mind. Because again, this boss fight is RNG bullshit. Maybe they improved it for the HD version? Because I feel what happens is he's supposed to show up at one of these 3 spots, right? Either way I'm standing right now, where he is, or the place where he started. What I feel like happens is that you knock him around, because he does have a knockback state apparently again, and that just adds an offset to his position. And he's not programmed to go to an exact location. He's programmed to go to his current location plus or minus a certain delta, which is a very dumb way of programming that, if that's the case. But I feel like that is the cause of the RNG issue that people have with this boss fight. But he doesn't seem to be doing it much right now, so maybe that was fixed in the HD version. Or maybe I'm just getting supremely lucky. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the being supremely lucky thing is way more likely. And that's all the analysis you're going to get from this boss fight, because I've just kind of been killing him. You can see his boss fight is not that interesting, other than the fact that he's at seemingly random times... Oh no, roll the fuck out of the way. That's a dangerous attack. At seemingly random times, he is invulnerable to knockback. It's probably during some of his attacks that he can or cannot be hit with knockback. I have to imagine. And the second part of this boss fight I'm also not going to analyze too much, because it's literally just a chase sequence. What happens is we jump down here, somehow survive that fall, don't think about it. And we can attack Jafar with Blizzard Magic, which is a fun little Easter egg, but what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to just go absolutely apeshit on the lamp. And all that the Iago does is just... What it seems like he does is pick one of a predetermined list of positions to move toward, and he moves towards that, and sometimes you can knock him out and he drops the lamp, and you just get to hit the lamp a little bit more then. Like, his AI is actually... It's ridiculously simple. Like, it's simpler than any of the enemies that I have in my game. There's also the fact that Genie Jafar is literally throwing... Also, he can sometimes go out of bounds. But that's fine. But Jafar can also throw literal blocks of lava, or magma, I suppose, at you, which is a bit distracting at times, to say the very least. The fact that he can go out of bounds is honestly just the worst, though. Because at that point you can't do anything, you just have to wait for him to come back. I suppose it's the danger of Genie Jafar throwing blocks of lava at you, but... Wait, when did... Do I have arrow? I have arrow! Okay, I didn't know that. It's probably good to keep in mind. It's a defensive spell. So yeah, there's also the whole... Yeah, Jafar is throwing balls of lava at you, but it's not really something that you really need to worry about, because as you can tell, I am not really giving a fuck about when he does that. I barely even notice it. So that doesn't really make those parts of the fight where Iago is out of bounds all that much more interesting. Because it maybe does increase in like aggressiveness from Jafar during those times, but not enough for me to notice. And that was Agrabah. Actually, that was not yet Agrabah done, because we have a chase sequence. Well, it's not really a chase, it's more of an escape sequence. But this is really easy. It's another one of those sequences where if you just don't move at all, you're still good, I believe. I think speedrunners purposefully go out of their way to die in this sequence because it's faster than finishing it. And just doing nothing. As you can see, I'm taking hits, sure, yeah, but I'm also regaining health from those health orbs that are all over the place. Like, that was it. That's kind of sad, isn't it? Now we get the second best summon in the game, which I'm not going to use. That being Genie. We also get a new Keyblade, which I'm much more excited about. Well, I was going to say the best summon in the game is Mushu, because he's great. But there's also Bambi and Tinkerbell, which are more defensive and like utility summons. And Tinkerbell definitely is the best in the game. If you're not just talking about offensive capability, because Tinkerbell is just a regen spell that also saves you from death once. So when you summon Tinkerbell, it's an endgame summon, obviously. But when you summon Tinkerbell, she will keep healing you every few seconds. She heals you for a bit. And then when you die, she also saves you and gives you back like a third of your max HP or something like that, and then she disappears. It's an overpowered as hell summon. So I guess we can maybe do one more world here. Question is, do we do this one or that one? Let's go in the order that the game wants you to go in, because I believe we're going to get intercepted by Monstro either way. And Monstro is a decently fast world, so we can do that one and then we'll end off for today. Don't go into that portal though. I do wonder, now that we're doing like some gumship shit anyway, right? We'll probably be fine. Does OBS by default, because it has a built-in... Am I going to be fine? I think I'm going to be fine. It has a built-in thing for showing Twitch chat to me, so does that mean that it has a built-in thing for showing Twitch chat? Okay, I was not fine. Never mind. I just wanted to check whether or not OBS has a built-in thing for Twitch chat in like the... But it doesn't seem like it does. So I'll have to install like Streamlabs for that or something. There's probably a plugin for that. Frankly, I was surprised by the fact that OBS these days just straight up has integration which allows you to see Twitch chat and your stats and stuff like that in software as it is. You don't have to open up another tab with the stream or your stream dashboard like you used to have to do back in the day. I also need to look into whether or not I can do that for YouTube. Because if I can, that significantly improves my entire experience with dual streaming as well. If I can have both of the chats open inside OBS. That'll be fantastic. Not even because it saves me real estate on the screen. As a matter of fact, it does the opposite. It kind of fucks my screen space. But what it does do is it throws it all together into one window. So if I have to open up something else, and then I have to open up like my chats again, it's all just in OBS, and I don't have to reopen like 3 different windows at the same time. It's a minor issue. It's not even an issue. It's just a minor annoyance. Something that doesn't even happen all that much. Though I suppose when I'm doing development streams and not game streams, I do end up like opening Google a lot more on my second monitor. So there it does make a bit more of a difference. I could have sworn that Monstro was going to intercept me here. It seems like he's not going to. Which is interesting. Right? Or does he intercept me here? Okay, this is taking a while. No, yeah, no, that's Monstro. Yes, there's just a giant whale in space, don't think about it. We just accept this kind of thing. Whether you want to say it's Kingdom Hearts... Well, it is Kingdom Hearts logic, but I was going to say whether you want to say it's Disney logic or Final Fantasy logic, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? It's potato. Neither of them make a lot of sense. Put them together, they make even less sense. And that's what we love about it. So are there a lot of new enemies in Monstro? I think there's the Ghost boys, which I don't think is going to give me many more IDs because they more or less do what I'm going to have those Reapers that we modeled last week on stream. What they do, right? Or what they will do, rather, in the future, when I have actually finished modeling them and rigging them and animating them. And then programming them, is they will skip cutscenes. When they attack you, they will disappear on a random timer and then reappear near you and attack you. So that's what they do, is they disappear, and there's a random timer, and then they reappear and attack. And that's pretty much all there is to their AI. Maybe they are a little less aggressive than I have in my mind right now, because it seems like they just reappear at random locations, not necessarily right next to you. But frankly, I feel like my enemies need a little bit more aggressiveness to them than they have right now, so it's probably a good thing if they are a bit more aggressive than these ones. Okay, can I remember the right route to take in here? I think I can. And if I can, this is a very short world. Large bodies we have already seen as well. Nothing much new there. Oh, those green elemental things, by the way, are cure elementals. And that's pretty much what the lantern in my game is directly based off of. The idea that there's a flying enemy that just floats around and heals other enemies, and you have to deal with them before dealing with the other enemies. That said, in my game it's a little too easy to just ignore them, so he probably needs to heal a little faster. I think at the moment he heals 3% per second. Maybe that needs to be like 5% or something like that. Okay, let's see this boss fight's AI. It has the move where it can just... Let's focus the camera on him. It can swipe with one arm, it can swipe with the other arm, or it can swipe with both arms. That's pretty much what this comes down to, right? And it only does that when anything is in its range. And it kind of just does those things on a loop with a few seconds in between each one as long as something is inside of its range. There's not much to this boss fight. Honestly, it is a mini boss fight at this point, because right after we face this version of the fight, we're going to have to refight this guy, and he has a lot more moves, and he has a much more interesting arena that you fight him in as well, which is a lot more dynamic than this. So I was expecting this one to be very basic, and I am correct in that assumption. He is very, very basic. That said, the parrying system, it's only in Kingdom Hearts 1, so I kind of... Before I make a decision on like whether or not I want a parrying system, I want to play a little bit more Guard Souls. Guard Souls, I just got the guard ability, Dark Souls. And Kingdom Hearts 2 as well, which it'll be a while before we get to 2 if I'm doing Chain of Memories and Days as well. Although we probably will do Days after. Maybe I'll skip Chain of Memories and Days, because Chain of Memories doesn't really have much to do with my own combat. Because it's card based. It's real-time action combat, but it's still card based. So that's significantly different. I don't think I'll be playing Chain of Memories in this playthrough of all the games. So after 1 we would go immediately into Kingdom Hearts 2. Wait, I don't have high jump yet? What the fuck? Oh, it's in a chest. Right, there's a chest somewhere around here that I can get that has high jump. Which is really weird. Just give it to me in the cutscene. Like, who thought this was a good idea? Like with high jump he actually does a front flip. Without high jump I don't think he does a front flip. Which, just for animation purposes, what does this jumping animation look like without it? He just kind of lifts up his legs. He doesn't... And this is the thing in game animation, right? Which very much differentiates it from a lot of other animation. Specifically for player characters, you don't really have time for anticipation movement. Because the moment you press the jump button, you want your character to be jumping. You don't want them to start an anticipation movement and then eventually, like half a second later, do the actual jumping. So when you actually start to analyze the movements of the animations for a lot of game... I'll do that for some of the attack animations in a moment as well. For a lot of game actions, they actually start to make a lot less sense. Okay, so he has that move forward attack here as well, which he can do, I think, in any direction. He's got his morning breath attack, as I like to refer to it as. And I think he can do any attack in any direction. And most of the intrigue of this fight really comes down to the arena being poisonous. And the fact that you can only attack him from the front as well, by the way. I didn't note that in the previous fight against him. But you can't attack him from the back either. So I'll just show you. He's protected from the back. But also, he's got his attacks that he had a moment ago. But after you attack him a couple of times, his dark orb thing in his stomach becomes available to hit. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that, I hate that attack. I think that takes more damage. Like it has a lower defense stat or something like that. It's a separate object that references like the same HP bar. Just has a lower defense stat, something weird going on there. No, don't die. If you're hungry, you should eat. But what you really should do is probably just not be awake in the first place. Because it's like 5 AM for you. But if you're awake at 5 AM anyway and you're hungry, might as well eat something. 6 AM, even fucking worse. Okay, that was lucky. No. I hate getting hit by that attack. It's so hard to dodge. Mostly because I'm mindlessly mashing the X button. Because I've just kind of shown what this boss fight can do. A lot of the things that I'm trying to research, I realize now have not so much to do with the attack patterns and AI decision making. Although I'm still using those for IDs as well, obviously. Thank you very much, Donald. It's the first time I've ever said that. But what I'm also doing is mostly I'm trying to figure out the way the mobility works for a lot of these boss fights. Like, when do they move? How much do they move? Do they move a lot towards the character? Do they just hang out? Do they move away from the player character? That kind of stuff. That's a big part of what I'm trying to figure out here. So the stationary bosses, they don't really like add too much to me. That said though, we just made a lot of progress in a quite short amount of time. Because we did the Colosseum, we did Traverse Town 2, we did Agrabah, we did Monstro. That's 4 worlds. 4 worlds that are all relatively short. Agrabah itself is probably the longest out of those because it's the only actual full world. So it's a little shorter than the video or the stream that we had last week for this, but I'm also a lot more tired. So I'm going to just land in Agrabah here. We have a Trinity that we can do actually in Agrabah. So let's go do that. Just for shits and giggles. And then let's fight a nice big like mob of enemies, because I still need to take a little bit of a closer look at how crowd control and like juggling prevention works. And for that we don't need to go to another world and start more progression, because we won't be able to finish that world. But we can just mess about a little bit. So as for the attack animations, it's pretty instant. As in, there's not really any anticipation to the movement. And it seems like you can actually like start up your next attack before the animation from the previous attack is done. Because this is how long the actual first attack animation is, right? But the moment you hit something, you can actually start your next attack, it seems like. That is an interesting... yeah, they do jump on each other when you do those green trinities. But that's actually an interesting thing, right? Because what you can do is when you hit an enemy... I do already have a gameplay event that's getting sent on enemy hit. So what I can do with that is I can allow the next attack ability to start once it has detected one attack hit. Huh. That is potentially an interesting thing. But again, do we have anything else to hit in here? No. I wish there was... Actually, there is something that I can do to easily check out some of the combat stuff, because Merlin has like a training room where you can just hit floating tables. Anyway, we can 1, 2, 3. Like the finisher has a bit more build up, right? It has the spin around and then hit, which makes it feel more impactful. It's like quick, a little slower. Anyway, let's take another look at this like crowd control kind of thing, because okay, that's not a great enemy because those large bodies don't really get knocked back. Just having some enemies that don't get knocked back also is a very good start. But if I just focus on some of these little enemies over here, because these are just only little enemies going around. I wish I could tell Donald and Goofy to go fuck off. But there's no real mechanism in place for enemies to like save themselves from being comboed into oblivion. Like they don't become invincible, they don't... Even like normal enemies don't even have revenge attacks. Like they do in my game. Not saying that my game is better than Kingdom Hearts, but like it fucking might be. So I think the answer to that is just more enemies in smaller spaces. And I was kind of like banking on that being the answer, because otherwise I didn't have a lot of other creative ideas as to how to deal with this issue. But it seems like that is the way Kingdom Hearts does it. Just when you're focusing on one enemy, other enemies come in and attack you, and as such prevent you from endlessly juggling one of them at a time. And the more I'm fighting enemies within smaller enclosed spaces, the more that seems to hold up. I don't really have that issue as much in more wide open spaces. But in the smaller spaces, well, not here necessarily, because there's not a lot of enemies around here. Or rather, the enemies that are around here have such little HP that they die too quickly for it to matter. But the little hallway, well, it's not really a hallway, but you know what I mean. We had at the end of that previous fight over there, there were like 3 or 4 enemies within very like enclosed space, and I ended up getting hit a lot more there. So I do think that that is the way to go forward, is to make things challenging. Restrict the amount of movement space compared to the amount of enemies you have. So either spawn in a shit ton of enemies, or make sure that the place where you're fighting them is relatively enclosed and small. That way you also don't really have much of an opportunity to run away from enemies, because there's always going to be something around you. Okay, that was some good game analyzing that we did here. And we made it to level 25. So next time I think we're going to do Halloween Town. I probably will skip Atlantica, because that is not particularly conducive to my gameplay research, because that world's movement fucking sucks, and its combat also fucking sucks. So I'll probably skip that, and also do Hollow Bastion, and maybe next time we're just going to do like a longer stream and do the rest of the entire game. Although the final boss sequence does take a hot minute. So I'll probably only do up to Hollow Bastion 1. And then the rest of it will be in another stream. And by that time I will also have made sure that I have Dark Souls installed. So if that stream ends up being a bit short with the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, we might be able to play a little bit of Dark Souls 3 as well. We'll see. For now, that's been it. Thanks so much for tuning in, and next time we'll be back with more. And I can't leave this window. I have to alt tab.